We begin this week with the United States President Donald Trump and a flurry of executive orders he has signed since he returned to power in the White House for a second time on January 20. The executive orders and actions range from issues of immigration, land, international trade to global health. Over 3,000 Nigerians are on Trump's deportation list as he steps up the crackdown against illegal immigrants in the country. Trump's executive orders have also suspended all foreign assistance program with a few exceptions for 90 days, pending a review of their efficiencies and interest to America. And the decision to halt foreign aid to African countries may have effectively terminated the operations of USAID in Nigeria, sending shock and, of course, many people actually being hit with it, with some staff actually being asked to stay off work. Now, a major fallout of this is that many local organizations that rely on USAID for funding are forced to dismiss staff, cancel program activities, and abandon life-saving interventions, raising fears of a humanitarian and development crisis. Now, as President Trump ramps up his executive orders, with many of them affecting African countries, especially Nigeria too, the big question is, how should the Nigerian government respond to Trump's policy adjustments, especially dealing with the cut in aid and new U.S. foreign policy of America First? Well, to help us understand these dynamics, I'm glad to have joining me here in the studio Ademola Oshodi, who is a Senior Special Assistant on Foreign Affairs to Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu. Thank you so much and welcome. All right, so it's been a very difficult time for African countries. We see what Trump is doing with South Africa at the moment because of the Land Expropriation Act and all of that. But in terms of Nigeria, the attention has been on the deportation list and USAID. I mean, how's the Nigerian government been taking a look at all of this?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a shock to everybody, and it's rather a recent development. The Nigerian government has not taken a clear position yet. Everybody is still watching the space and seeing how the thing evolves. But I know the Nigerian government, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, has come out with 4.8 billion naira to make up for any loss Nigeria is receiving from the U.S. support for especially fight against HIV and other health interventions that the Americans may have been funding. So that's encouraging. At least we're jumping ahead to ensure that there's no lack, there's no delay.
And I must say, it was very fast. A lot of Nigerians were surprised that it looks like our government is actually thinking way ahead of time.
Absolutely.
And it was a very swift policy.
It was, and it's taken a very strong leadership role in other parts of in Africa. So other African countries are looking and scrambling and see how to adjust. And again, this US is actually a suspension, as you said, for 90 days. So, it could be reversed, things could be amended. I think Nigeria is in a comparative advantage than other African countries. The West, America, needs Nigeria. They need us for our leadership role in Africa, in West Africa is particularly, against the Sahel. The American national interest, security interest is affected in issues happening around the Sahel, as you well know. And also, Nigeria is a huge energy provider, stabilizing the cost of America's consumption of energy. They are the biggest consumers. And Nigeria is also helping in the security around the Bight of Bonny, the piracy and things like that. But American can use Nigeria, and they do use Nigeria, as a projection, as an extension of their foreign policy. So America may not want to be too obvious in their footsteps and footprints around West Africa or Africa. And they need the leadership of countries like Nigeria to say, look, you know what, Nigeria, help us navigate this issue, 20 issues in West Africa. Let us, look at what's happening there. Help us check the Chinese, counterweight. So
yeah, I mean, like the Gulf of Guinea, which you just talked about. Absolutely, our navy is super strong within the axis.
Absolutely. So they need us. They need us, and so as much as the president, the American president, may be, really trying to review foreign assistance. he would look very, I think, very kindly towards Nigeria, at least in our country. The issues of Nigerians in diaspora living in the United States, that's a different matter. I'm not sure how it's going to. I think there will be, obviously it would affect any illegal immigrant or anybody seeking residency in America. That has nothing to do with America's or Nigeria's foreign policy or Nigeria's role in Africa, I should say.
All right, talk to us about how President Tinubu is receiving the Trump presidency. I mean, when Trump won the election, we actually saw him sending out a congratulatory message. But
Yes.
After the swearing in, we didn't see any message.
Yeah.
And people started misinterpreting
Yeah.
or interpreting it in different ways.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
could there be any reason why, that actually happened?
Well, I don't see there's anything wrong there. I think everybody is still watching. I think it's less than a month the American president has been in charge.
Yeah.
So it's still wait and see, and I don't think there's anything unusual about that. But I can say again that America does not play with Nigeria. Nigeria's their interest aligns a lot with us. Democratic country, a big market for their goods, a big support for their security. And if you notice that when Trump was his first term as president, the first African leader he welcomed to the White House was the former Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah.
And obviously all the media picked it up. So it shows the importance of Nigeria. Like, if welcomed Buhari, they sat down in the White House and, they met. So he knows the importance. And
are we hoping to see anything like that?
Well, I hope so.
Has there been any formal communication?
I think
even on the phone.
Yeah. Actually. Well, again, it's still early days, so I think it would still. Obviously, everybody congratulated the U.S. president. You cannot, in any way, play with America and the presence and the global reach, their global power. And the next closest thing to them are the Chinese. So everybody has to basically honor them and wish the president well. But it's still early days, so I'm hoping that things will transfer and you'll see, hopefully, a very encouraging relationship between both leaders.
So, Oshodi, we don't have a substantive ambassador at the U.S. at the moment.
Yes.
So if the Nigerian government is to engage with the U.S. on issues, several issues, a flurry of issues, including about 3,000 plus Nigerians on Trump's deportation list, how would that be going? Without any, huge diplomatic presence.
The issue of presidency, the ambassador is very important, and I can't underplay that. But it is an issue that the president is actually looking to. They have approved over 54 billion naira for the renovation and upkeep of the missions. We have diplomats that have sent there. We have chargé affairs. We have consul generals. They're more like a prelude towards the ambassadors coming. So I believe the ambassadors are coming in very soon, and I'm quite sure about that.
Well, you've been saying very soon for
yes,
quite some time.
Well, we're waiting for the House. So we're waiting for the House to pass the budget.
Okay.
So that's not in the president's hand. The president, again, these are three separations of powers, separation of powers of the House and the legislature. So the president has sent his budget in, the House is deliberating, and I'm quite confident once that budget is passed, things will move very fast. And, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm asking this because a lot of Nigerians are worried. You would have seen deportees from other countries, people going back to their countries in chains and all of that. And so Nigerians are wondering, 3,000, it may not be like that of other countries, but if they are coming back home and they are being deported, people expect them to be deported with dignity, not with chains in their legs, in their hands, like criminals here and there. And so those are the kind of conversations that people want to hear from government, what the Nigerian government is doing very fast to ensure that, there's a seamless relationship between both countries.
I think it's rather unfortunate the way deportees are chained, but I think it's a general U.S. policy. If you're even arrested in America, automatically they handcuff you and put you in the car, even though you may not be a risk, but it's just standard procedure. So it's the way the Americans do their things. So, but we knew this was coming with the Trump presidency. I'm pretty sure the people living in America, the Nigerians or Africans, or even the immigrants living in America knew this was coming. So it's their policy. They voted for this president and this party, so they are just enacting the policy which they said they would. So we as Nigeria just have to make sure that, people are treated, in a civil manner and our interests are protected.
Is Nigeria actually worried about how Trump is dealing with other African nations too? Because Africa used to be the centerpiece of our foreign policy, of our foreign policy. Now you see what South African politicians are saying, that they are calling on Nigeria to join them alongside other African countries to stop the export of minerals to the US because of what Donald Trump, said he was going to do because of the Land Expropriation Act in South Africa. Yeah. Would Nigeria be willing to actually back South Africa in this?
I don't think anybody is going to stop any trade with America, and I don't think America is going to stop any trade with any other country.
Well, they're asking for African unity in dealing with Trump.
Yes, that's quite different from stopping trade. I totally agree with that. But what we see now is a upturn of the U.S.-led liberal rules order of the way the world is, the foreign policy has been enacted. After World War II, we had liberal, a very liberal foreign approach to how nations, in how nations operate. The things of human rights was a big factor, democracy. We had the climate change recently, and of course, gender issues and things like that. So it's more liberal. So Donald Trump policy, it's all that's been obsolete. It's now overturned. It's now purely national interest. Does it benefit America in any way? So we as Africans, and Nigeria in particular, have to pursue our own interest. And how do we do that? We ensure that the West or any other country, we leverage what they need versus what we need. So for instance, America needs secure and stable energy supply. America needs Nigeria to provide some sort of security and leadership in West Africa and Nigeria, in Africa. America needs Nigeria to take a very strong leadership position in African Union and African issues. They don't want American troops on the ground. They would rather African troops to deal with African issues. Nigeria has always been a history of providing troops for the United Nations and things like for peacekeeping. So that's what America needs. So Nigeria and another place like India, America will not really mess with India because they need India to check the Chinese, the rise of the Chinese nation. Yeah. So it's in their interest. I can't speak for all the African countries, but America needs Nigeria, just like Europe needs Nigeria. They need us for, our young teeming population. Europe is getting old. They need us for energy supply away from Russia, away from the Middle East, or at least diversifying their supply. You understand? They need, China needs Nigeria as a huge market against America and Europe. And again, we have the ideological partners. We have India and Brazil, fellow non-aligned countries. Yeah. They want us to come together as global South to take on the advanced Western countries. So we have to just leverage those things. We have to just play on those people and say, look, how does it benefit Nigeria, and how do we make sure that we profit from this, and just take away the sentiments and just say, look.
Well, South Africa is seeking solidarity in this moment.
No, they will get it. I think they will get it. And I'm sure South Africa will get it.
And they've got a negotiator in the owner of Twitter, yes. who they've actually asked to, help yes. them talk to Donald Trump yes. and all of that, and yes. ally. So if we're to face a similar kind of situation, people say that President Tinubu is not so strong on foreign policy. Yeah. Is he using negotiators to talk to other leaders across the world?
He's actually very strong. President Bola Tinubu has taken on a very strong economic diplomacy. He's traveled the world ensuring our reforms, the reforms he's pushed in, takes a different life and helps in our development. There's been foreign loans we've received, there's been security guarantees and security equipments we bought, there's been investments coming in. So as much as you talked about the ambassador, he is probably one of the best ambassadors we have, in attracting development to Nigeria. I don't think any other president has attracted and ensured we receive so much economic attention than this president. You know, and it's important for his reform to succeed. It's not just domestic issues he has to deal with. He has to ensure that by, you know, dealing with foreign partners, World Bank, IMF, they both all applauding his reforms. We all come together and to say, look, these are the tough reforms we're all dealing with in Nigeria. I need your support. We need loans. We need this. We need that. And it's been rather successful, you know. So when it comes back now to say, okay, how do you get African solidarity? African solidarity will come with the next, you know, you'll see something coming up in the next African Union summit, which is next week in Ethiopia. There will be talk about the AfTAC, the you know, African Continental Free Trade Agreement. There will be talk about issues of war and peace, and especially in the DRC, Congo, happening in Goma. We talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very much interested
Sudan,
in knowing why Nigeria has been a little bit quiet about what's happening, though it's happening in Eastern Africa. But of course, if we continue to say that that policy remains in place, which you have said is still there, with Africa being the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy, I mean, I thought that we would be interested in some sort of tension between South Africa, one of the largest economies, with, of course, Rwanda over DR Congo. And the UN's
I think it's important, but it's like how issues we're dealing with in West Africa with these Sahel countries.
Yeah, I'm living. To that actually.
So South Africa will only just tell us, you know, give us verbal support. South Africa and East African countries, SADC, have the ability to resolve the problem. It is more of a regional issue. Even though African Union will give our support, will ensure that everybody puts everything in place. If they need peacekeepers, you know, I'm pretty sure all countries in Africa will consider that. But it's more of a regional issue. Just like when we have regional issues in West Africa, I don't see South Africa coming to, you know, to say anything beyond.
But we've always played this big brother role, and of course
it's changed. It's changed. Our role, our foreign policy now is 4Ds. You know, development, democracy, and demography, and the diaspora. So it's very intentional. It's away from the ideology of the past, fighting for freedom in South Africa, in Angola, in Mozambique. We've done all that. We've got medals for that. You know, now we need to ensure that, you know, the bread and butter on the table. We need to ensure there's security in northern Nigeria and banditries around, and, you know, around the borders and things like that. It's more bread and butter. We need to open up the economy. We need to,
that brings me to the issue of Niger. I mean, you would have seen that these three African countries within West Africa, they actually left the ECOWAS, have gone ahead to form the AES, and they are insistent that there's no going back. And now they are trying to woo Togo to have access to the sea. And Togo says it's considering that. I mean, aren't you worried, especially between Nigeria and Niger, with how far we've always had very cozy relations, that President Tinubu this may be a blight on President Tinubu's presidency in the long run?
The issue with in West Africa, the Sahel countries, has to be treated delicately. Obviously, they're not happy the way things are. It's not a Nigerian problem. It's definitely not a West African problem. The biggest grouse is with, you know, with France. You know, they felt France was there to help them. They felt France didn't provide the kind of security they needed. They felt France was too overbearing. You understand? So they were upset with France and other countries that were providing military support for them. And they said, well, ECOWAS was not doing enough for them. But that's so be it. It's disheartening, but they are brothers and sisters, and I believe, as you know, President Bola Tinubu being second term head of ECOWAS, is working behind the scene to ensure they come back into the fold. And you know, we noticed that they said they want to leave, and we said no, it takes a year. After a year, you know, we'll give them another 6 months. After 6 months of leave them, you know, after initially saying they're leaving, we say, well, you know what, you can still travel around, every business as usual. You understand? So they've left legally, but it's still business as usual. So even the Togo access and everything is irrelevant. It's not necessary because it's business as usual. You know, the passports, people can still move around. So I think it's the, you know, different stages of grieving and anger. So they will get over it. We'll sit down. Africa will talk in West Africa, and we'll find a way how we can, you know, work together. Because it's security. It's national security. It's you can't win by yourself. It's like what the Three Musketeers will say, you know, one for all and all for one. We have to do it together, and eventually they will realize that.
Yeah, but does President Tinubu actually feel any sense of personal loss over this? Because it happened under his chairmanship of ECOWAS. And these three West African countries are saying that President Tinubu is cozying up too much for comfort with France.
Yeah, it's, well, I only believe it's not a personal thing against President Tinubu. If it was any other person as president of Nigeria, the same thing could happen, because they have a very constant, immediate security issue they've been dealing with for decades. The
Mr. Oshodi, people say President Tinubu didn't consult so much over this matter, that maybe if he had consulted more over this matter,
I think he did.
There could have been a different outcome.
I think it would. Again, we tried different phases of negotiating with them. You know, we spoke with them each coup after each coup. We involved the ECOWAS, and then obviously, you know, the foreign partners, the Americans, the French, everybody's like, what can we do? So, and I'm pretty sure that they looked at it and they felt got ganged up against. So, but we have to ensure democracy stays in Africa. It's in all our interest, and it affects our own development. It affects us. We can't allow, we should not accept military rule to, you know, comfortably in West Africa. We can't. It's not fair to the people in this country. It's not fair for the region, you know, for development. Who's going to speak with them? You're not on the table. If you're not sitting down on the table as a democratic leader, then you know, you're on the menu. They will do things. They will say things. You won't get loaned. You won't get. You can't come to United Nations or places, or, you know, with your military fatigue and with a gun by your side, and expect people to give you the type of respect and acceptance that a democratic leader will receive. So it is an ongoing matter. We're talking to them on the sides, and I'm quite confident. I'm quite confident that there will be moves to get them back in one form or the other. You know.
All right, Mr. Oshodi, the Nigerian Senate says it's going to be probing the allegations by the Nigerian leader against President Tinubu and his government over the issues of Lakurawa, and then over other allegations. Is the presidency worried?
I don't think it's, you know, the Senate, they have the right, it's their oversight duties. I don't think he has something to worry about. I don't think, you know, the Senate is just doing what they're supposed to do, and, you know, good for them. But I don't think it's an issue. It's, you know, it's something that every country leader has to, you know, go in front of the Senate or get the Senate to look at their works and see what.
Well, of course, it won't be done in the public because it's a security matter.
Yeah, but they would speak with people within the presidency, within the executive, to say what happened there, everything like that. So I don't think it's an issue. I don't think Nigeria has anything to do, at least the president, has nothing to do with those things. These things have been festering for a long time prior to the president being in power. You know, so now we're dealing very, very hard on security concerns. You've been getting troops, and I can just tell you that Donald Trump's first term was the first American leader to give us a lot of military hardware. Our brother, President Barack Obama, did not sell us military hardware for concerns about human rights. So Trump's first term did that. So it shows how hopefully we can get a lot of attraction and, you know, bonding with the American second term. I
remember the Super Tucanos and all of that were bought under him. As we try to round off this conversation, talk to me about the technical aid corps. If President Trump, in America, with all the monies I would think America has, is reviewing its engagement with the world, we have a similar program, the technical aid corps, where we get Nigerians to help other African countries providing aid in one way or the other. Is Nigeria, reconsidering that and those kind of support, how we help other countries?
Well, I hope not. I hope not. It's even America, again, it's suspending this thing. It's in their interest. A lot of this foreign aid that you see from U.S. aid, it's not altruistic. It's not just free and they're trying to do good and Mother Teresa. It's in their own interest. It's soft power. They have to show as if, America can be hard and America can be soft. It's in their interest. So I'm pretty sure U.S. aid will come back in one form or the other. America, the British government had DFID. They moved it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they still do almost the same thing. It's just now more open that it's a national interest thing. So I think Technical Aid Corps should continue. We should even pump more money into it because it shows it projects our reach into West Africa and, in the Pacific and also in the Caribbean, and says, Nigeria, be able to send technical assistance, not necessarily money, but doctors. Yeah,
I remember
nurses.
When we have former Minister Jeffrey Onyema, we actually sent relief materials to some other countries like Mozambique.
Absolutely.
Do we still do that? And then people are saying, shouldn't we concentrate so much within and reduce our support to other African countries? Trump is looking within in his country too.
I think we should even do more. I really think we should do more because their own projecting and ensuring the security of our neighbors, helps our safety and security and our prosperity. You understand? It helps us. It helps Nigerians. That's the diaspora that live in that community. It helps the relationship between leaders and sub-regional groups like ECOWAS and even So it's very important. I even think they should do more. I really do.
Right.
I think.
So just before I let you go, let's talk about BRICS. Yes. Actually, Nigeria has been introduced as a partner nation, and then of course we see what the Trump presidency is threatening to do. Slam more tariffs on countries within BRICS that decide to actually push away the dollar. Wouldn't there be some consequences for us if we belong fully to the organization? And how's the presidency, taking our new status? What does it mean for the average Nigerian?
I think it's important Nigeria is in BRICS. It's important Nigeria is in the G20. It's important Nigeria is, in any major international organization because we need that support and we need to diversify our interest. BRICS is made up of countries of the global south, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and many other new ones, Indonesia also. Yeah. So it's important we diversify our interests. It's important we ensure that, regarding the threat of, whether it's the American government will sanction BRIC countries, we shall wait and see. There's a major economies there, and if it's in their interest to pursue a certain way, then so be it. And obviously, everybody work together and negotiate and see how the outcome comes out. But yes.
Okay, so that's a very quick one. President Tinubu told us through a statement that he was traveling to France, and from there, of course, he goes to do other stuff. But people only heard of the travel; they didn't see when he was arriving. Where's President Tinubu at the moment? Okay, Nigerians are interested in knowing.
I think he went to France.
Yes,
it was a private. It's in a private.
They called it a private visit. We didn't see him touching down in France, but we were told he was going to France.
Well, that's the reason. I guess that's the reason because
people are worried.
No, I think we saw him going to France. At least we can safely say that. So it's a private visit. So it's if he comes down from a plane on a private visit, I don't think he should be met by French nationals or any national of a foreign country. It's a private visit. A lot of leaders come in to Abuja for private visit. People move around, the leaders move around the world, private visit, holidays and things like that, whatever. So it's a private visit. So I don't think we should concern that we didn't see him come down from the plane. We saw him go on the plane. So, so it's a private visit. But from there, obviously, he'll be going for the African Union Summit. You'll see him there too also. So then we'll see all the pomp.
Traveling so much.
We'll see all the pomp and everybody receiving him at the airport then.
Yeah, so, and they say he's been traveling so much, but the foreign affairs minister says he hasn't even traveled enough.
I don't think he's traveled enough. Honestly, what he's bringing to the table, what he's bringing in is tremendous. And we don't see it on every day, but he's building, is pushing, the same vigor of his domestic policy is the same of his foreign policy. Right. So, and I think Nigerians should be rest assured that it is for their own good. He's really trying to ensure that his reforms are successful and we have a better life.
Well, if you do have a conversation with him, telling him that we're actually
I'll tell him about you, Sambo.
Waiting
absolutely.
his trip for the AU summit and all of that. I mean, a lot of Nigerians are actually hoping that all this engagement bring more jobs and all of that.
Absolutely.
Because,
and security.
We really need more jobs and security.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ademola Oshodi, Senior Special Assistant on Foreign Affairs to President Bola Tinubu. Thank you so much for the immense job you do on behalf of the Nigerian people, and we'll continue to have you here.